Welcome to the Game of Life podcast, where we bring you inspiring softball stories, insightful tips from coaches and players, and explore how the game transcends its boundaries to become a metaphor for life. Whether you're a sports enthusiast, a casual fan, or someone just looking for inspiration, you're in for a treat. We'll unravel the tales that go beyond the scoreboard. Discover how perseverance and hard work on the field translates into resilience in your daily challenges. Learn about teamwork, leadership, and the unwavering spirit that fuels success, not just in sports, but in the game of life. Brianna Santos on the podcast, and that was hard for me because I just call her B. Everybody
Yep.
calls her B.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let her tell her story in a minute, Allie. But I remember the first time we met her, we moved you into a house off campus, and all of a sudden this girl shows up, and I don't know, she's been to like 17 colleges, she's 48 years old, we thought, and and we're like, who is this girl? And like, what's her story? Like, she's been here, and I'm joking, and I know it's sarcasm, but B, tell us tell us how you got to that point when we met you that day at that house, because I mean, since then we love you to pieces, and your story is so inspiring, and I think most people would have quit before that point, but tell us how you got
Yeah.
there.
You guys are truly one of my first families away from home in New York, so I'm always in debt to that. But that's a joke I hear plenty of times, so I love to hear it still. It is funny. I really did think I would start college 4 years, one university, in and out, no big deal. It's not really how it went for me, and couldn't really tell that for myself. So I did 2 years at the University of the Colorado Springs. That's where I got my first extra year of eligibility. My freshman year was COVID. So that was obviously a really challenging time. Ultimately, I loved being there for so many reasons, but I had always had a dream to play at a Division One. So I decided to kind of take the leap of faith. And after that, I went to McNeese State University in Lake Charles, Louisiana. So I did a year there. At that point, I had medically redshirted. So I tore my hip labrum. I mean, who even knows a hip has a labrum? Like nobody. Nobody until you tear it, honestly. But
Sad we're laughing about that. I don't mean
Oh.
yeah,
No,
There's been a
it
lot of heartfelt conversations off camera,
yeah,
so we
yeah,
can
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And we're what? 4 years post-op. Let's go. Huge. But that's where it's like it is what it is. And I learned so much from that. So as unfortunate as it was, I got a lot out of the experience. And I mean, at the end of that year, I felt like it wasn't the perfect real fit for me. You know, nothing's perfect, but I felt like something was still kind of missing. And so I decided to take one last leap of faith and I went back into the portal and Coach Bump was willing enough to put up with me. And so I ended up at Binghamton University and I played there for 3 years. So that's where, I played out my COVID year, my medical redshirt year, and I am so happy I took all the leaps that I did. My favorite thing is people go, "Oh, so where are you from?" And I tell them I'm from California. So then they further panic. They're like, "What are we talking about? Like none of these places in your house." And I like to tell people I lived in all four time zones in all my years of college. It's all very ironic because I never even thought I would move away from home, and I am now the furthest point away from home. But I mean, it all worked out to where it is. And I remember meeting Allie that first day, and she was gracious enough to drive me around because I never saw the campus before I moved here. And she got me some Chipotle, and it's been history since then. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in there, B. I'm a little selfish because I'm glad your story ended up where it did because it gave us 1 year together. So you're one of my favorite people on the planet, one of my best friends. So so excited that you're on here today. But yeah, so basically, when B came to Binghamton, she was driving there, right? Were you in California at the time or Colorado when you
I
were
was
driving?
in California. So at the time, I didn't know where I was transferring. So I took my car from Louisiana to California. Um, small detail in all this, I'm still post-op, so like I just learned how to walk, and that becomes funnier from my side when you kind of get into it. But go ahead.
Yeah, so she tells me, hey, so she's gonna come live with us, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna drive up to the house today and start moving my stuff in. And I'm like, well, no one's at the house. That's so anticlimactic. Like, I
Yeah.
need to go so that you can like meet somebody, somebody's there. So I'm at the house, she pulls up for the first time. I get us Chipotle. I'm like, hey, so like nice to meet you, whatever. Do you want to see the campus? So I drive her around campus. And like honestly, from that moment, I feel like you and I joke all the time. We just started like getting really close and it was fantastic. So I think I was just really happy that that whole thing led you there. But I guess, do you want to kind of go back to about, you said you grew up in California. How did you decide to move away from home? Was that something you always knew you wanted to do? What was that kind of like for you?
Yep, I will definitely get into that. I just want to close off your story and say I remember the first time meeting you, I was so excited to meet you, and I wanted to run up and hug you, but I couldn't run yet. So I was like swiftly walking, and yeah, it's been great since then.
I do remember
But
that detail now
yeah,
that you
that's
say.
why I'm like this detail comes in to be funny because I remember being like, I want to run and I can't. Like, um, yeah, so being out from California, that was definitely a change for me. And it's always very scary because I moved to each of the states that I went to not knowing anyone. So I knew I was going to play on the softball team, which was a super big thing to lean on, but it was also scary because it's not like I mean, I have to start all the way over. I need to find my people. And so the first time as an 18-year-old, it was so scary. I mean, terrifying. And I was very lucky to have the people at home to help me through it. And then, I mean, each time after that, it's still difficult. I just have a lot of faith that if I'm genuinely being myself and putting myself in the right places, that I'll make that community again. And I've been super fortunate to be surrounded by such good people to create that. But I mean, moving is scary. And to anyone ever questioning whether or not they should take that jump, I would always say go for it. You'll never know until you try. And so, yeah, being away from home, it's been different, and I definitely make sure to keep in contact with my family. We always call, FaceTime. So I'm very thankful for the technology for that.
Definitely. I think too, I mean, knowing you kind of later on in that journey, you've kept relationships with all of your teammates throughout the various schools you've been at. So maybe just talk a little bit about, the relationships you created through softball, how you keep in touch with all those people and how important that is to you as well. Because that's something that stood out to me like immediately about you. I feel like every time I went to go talk to you, you were like on the phone with one of your friends or making sure that everybody was okay. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, I am speechless when I think about the softball the community and the people that it's brought me because growing up it was a lot me, my mom, and my dad. And then whenever we needed any extra support when it came to traveling, going places, I ended up having a softball family that would help me too. And that narrative just continued in college. And I mean, I was very fortunate to just have those people presented to me and to be surrounded by that. So, I mean, to me, my friends, they are my family as well. They don't have to be blood, but the things that we do together, I care for you, you care for me, that doesn't just stop when you move. So my roommates, I still call you my roommate,
Yeah.
They're still my
Yep.
roommates in my head because we live together, we go through this together, and you kind of create a certain bond. So, I mean, my freshman class went ahead and they walked me out for senior day, and we all haven't been in the same place for 4 or 5 years because some of those people ended up transferring out or graduating at different times. So for us to all be in the same place at once meant a lot. And even then, my other connections at my other travel and other universities, I mean, we still will text, check in. So people I played travel with, I'll go ahead and I'll play against them now in college. And it's really fun because obviously we haven't played together in forever. And some of them are like, wow, how are you still playing? And I'm like, I know, let me tell you. And so, I mean, it's one of those things where those people mean so much to me, and I can't imagine not having them in my life. So I'll check in here and there, vice versa. And it's just really nice knowing they're in my corner and I'm obviously in theirs. So
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much here. I mean, I'm a high school coach. And we have kids get recruited, we have kids going places, and I always hear like they think once they get recruited, it's the end. Like, oh, I made it.
Mhm.
And I think so much different. Like, no, you have no idea where your journey's gonna go. And if you just trust the process and keep working,
Mhm.
despite all the ups and downs, you don't even know where it's gonna take you. And you're the poster girl for that. I mean,
Yeah.
no, but in a good way, because
Mhm.
I'm telling you, I mean, you just explained what you went through, and people really can't relate to that because most people would quit, and you just kept doing it and kept doing it, and you had a great end result, but you can't predict that result. You just kept doing it. You kept going, 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 and I think too many people focus on the result instead of the day to day, and that's why we love having you on. And I know you guys are going to share more stories, but it's so inspiring. I mean, I'm an old man and I'm inspired.
Thank you. It felt good when all the difficult things that happened, like I have that written up on my board. I'll change what's written on my whiteboard. And this week it says everything happens for a reason. And the other
Nice.
part of that would be whether we understand it or not. And that's because sometimes really difficult hardships come our way. And in that moment, it's definitely difficult to understand why that may happen. And it's super possible we might not ever know. But within my own athletic career, I'll take my own injury, for example. It was, I mean, anyone that's been through a season-ending injury, it's really difficult to cope with emotionally, physically, and I had put in so much work and time in all regards to softball that to start not even at level 0, but just below that, like let's get yourself walking. How is it what's it like putting your socks on again? It it feels like what was the point of any of this? And so from that process though, I obviously learned to appreciate just the little things throughout my day. And I thought it made me a better player in a lot of different ways. It made me look at the game different. It made me have a different awareness of my body and how to take care of myself and how to be an advocate for my own health and well-being. I just thought it taught me a lot, and I don't think I would be who I am because of that. And there's so many other things, obviously, that go into I am today, but that was just an example of I remember being in that moment, and for so long, because that recovery takes a minute. Like I don't want this anymore. I'm so frustrated. And then to see down the line how it transcended. I mean, sitting back and having to watch taught me so much in itself. I got to sit back and take off that, oh, I need to go do this pressure for myself and learn through conversation and learn from the coaching staff in ways that I wouldn't have if I were to continue playing 4 consecutive, no injury, good to go. And that just exists in so many different ways in the sport where, let's say I never got injured and just had to move, those types of things still would teach you those lessons. And so, even in the moment when you don't understand what's going on, I personally have a lot of hope that it's for something better and bigger and more beneficial, and that it's all working within your own positive. So, that's what kind of kept driving me is like I might not understand, but this is going to be helping me somehow. And in my own experience, it has. So I would just like to definitely share that narrative because it's gotten me through the tough times.
Yeah.
B, if there was a poster child for adversity, I think like I Googled adversity today and your name came up.
Good. Good. We
Uh,
have the dad jokes already.
Yeah.
We
yeah,
have the
no,
dad
no,
jokes
no,
already.
but that's cool. Like, and they always say like, I mean, not to get too philosophical, but if you pray for patience, you're not going to get patience. You're going to be thrust in situations where you have to practice patience. And if you pray for, adversity, you're going to be put in situations where that's what you're going to do. And you
Mhm.
just climbed out of all that stuff. It's so awesome.
Well, I think too, like, it has to do a lot with how you reacted to the situations that you were given, right? Like, you easily could have just kind of shut down, shunned everybody away, but like watching you go through those times, and obviously, right, I met you after that injury had happened, but every memory I have of is never like, oh my gosh, this sucks. It was always any problem you had, what are we gonna do? what are we going to do about it? And like, that's how you and I were. I mean, it could be the smallest thing of like, oh my gosh, I have the most minor inconvenience. That sucks. What are we going to do? So it's just, I think, and like we've spent a lot of time talking about that over the years too, but I think it really just does serve you well in life, right? I know we talked about athletics, but also in life, like you're gonna have days where crap just hits the fan, for lack of better words. It's not gonna go well. There's days I call you today and we won't talk for a week, and it's like, how are you doing? I'm like, well, I fell while I was on my run. That did happen the other week. I fell
Yeah.
and I had to run 2 miles home with my knees were bleeding, but that's besides the point. But it's just, hey, that happened, and we're just like, oh wow, well, I hope tomorrow's better.
Mhm.
There's no feeling sorry. It's just you move on. And to your point, I think when we go through things in life and we don't know the reason, sometimes 2 years down the line, something happens and you look back and you're like, like that situation prepared me for this. So wait, why we may not know in the moment, I think there are some times where you kind of look back and you're like, wow, that set me up for this.
Oh yeah, 100%. I hope your knees are doing okay, by the
Yeah.
way. My little marathon runner, you look at you go. I should got
Yeah.
a marathon runner.
Yes, I know.
One thing I always appreciated it with both of you, you all, I think you could both look back at your careers and realize you just left it on the field. And it stinks. Nobody ever wants to stop playing. But one thing I enjoyed about both of you in the short time I watched you play, B, is you were so present. Like everything. It didn't matter if you're down 9-1, if you're up 9-1, what the rainy day, sunny day. Every time I watched you, you went through the same routine, you did your thing, and there was so much energy. And to me, that's the greatest lesson of life and consistency right there.
I really feel like the game is just another platform to learn life in, and everyone talks about that. And sometimes we don't always see the certain ways and how, and that's one of them. Having just a little something you could fall back into to keep yourself present. I used to have be where your feet are on my cleats and letters because it's really easy to just be overwhelmed in those situations. And the same goes in life as well. Things come your way. You're losing 9-1 in life or in the game, and you're like, this isn't great. You have those things to kind of relax you, relax your mind, and keep moving forward. So at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, I'm sure everyone can go ahead and do my routine start to finish still going into the box. Everyone thinks, because I used to do the jumps and everyone used to think that was really funny.
B's doing like, go look up a video of B hitting. It is the best thing ever. One, her swing is beautiful, but two,
Yes.
she does this like high knee jump between pitches, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic. I think it started with like stretching your hip, maybe, or
It, well, also the joke is that each progressive year it got lower, and I would say it's true. It started my freshman year in the outfield, and then it kind of came into hitting because as I got older and after my surgery, I was like, I need these legs to wake up. We got to hit real quick. Like, we got to get into this. And so I was throwing the jumps in before I got in the box. I was like, come on now. Like, I know you've been standing for 2 hours, but like, we got to go.
yeah.
And so, yeah, the jumps were in the routine. And then as an outfielder, I used to like to touch the turf a little, just like, oh, I made it out here. And it's a good
Yeah.
time. Okay.
Yeah. I loved being able to turn around in the infield and look at B. She was always smiling.
Well, but the always smiling. I mean, obviously in your college career, there's games that didn't go your way. But
Yeah.
what I always saw with you as an outsider is you wouldn't have, after a game, you wouldn't have known how B played, but you would have known how she treated every teammate on the team. And I mean, that's just so priceless.
Hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's that's what people will remember, I feel like, is your relationship with each other because there are games that just aren't going to go well.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, let's all be honest here. I went home and I was like, oh, buddy. Like, um,
Yep.
but I feel like there's just no good in taking that out on your teammates or just acting on it in the moment. It's not going to do anything for you if you're super reactionary in that moment. Yeah, feels shitty, but that's not going to help you get what you need to done. And obviously, you have to give yourself the time and space at the end of the day. If you keep pushing it off, it's going to build and eat you up. So that's not to say those moments never bothered me for sure, but I just was like, if it's my problem. Why am I gonna make it my teammates' problems too? Because they have their own things they got to deal with. So let's just make the best out of it and roll.
I mean,
And do
that's
you
a great
feel like,
point.
oh, I was
No,
just
go
gonna say,
ahead.
do you feel like kind of the things that were put in your path before that gave you like this newfound kind of gratitude toward the sport too, of just like, hey, I feel like I already know the answer to that. But just for the people listening out there, like, hey, I get to step on the field today, so I can't waste that sort of
I
situation.
absolutely. I mean, there were a few major points in my career that just really gave me a new love for the game. And one of them was COVID coming along. And I know a lot of people coming to college now are a lot younger. I was a freshman in college, so I was the youngest of the bunch. But having an AD come down to your field and tell you your season is over, we have no idea what's happening next, I get goosebumps to say now. Just seeing I mean, some of our seniors, that was their senior day then. That was it, that practice right there.
Mhm.
I mean, we don't know what's to come next, and there's greater things going on in the world. But at that point, when you've worked your whole life, given up every summer, dedicated yourself to doing this one thing to get to your dream, and you get there, and your group is doing so well, and things feel so good, and you don't want life to be any other way, and you're told you're done, pack up, stay safe, good luck, you're like, oh my God, what is literally happening? So you already don't know if you're ever going back then. And luckily, the world has gotten to a better place. And obviously, in that case, COVID has ramped down, which is hugely fortunate. So that, I mean, at the time, you
Yeah.
can't know that. And it's scary to have that taken away from you. And then I mean, I'm not the only athlete to say this, but at one point or another, I just started to lose a love for the game. And that was really upsetting and hard to deal with in itself, where I remember there were points in my career where I'd step into the box and I was just hoping my bat would be done. I'd be like, I just want to get out. And that's not in a good space to be in either. And so falling in love with the game and all the parts to it, it's scary because you're like, I just had a bad experience with this before, and now I'm learning to love it again, and I already did love it, so I know I love it. I just remember being at a point where I was learning to love the game, and I was finding that so much that I was excited to pinch it. And I knew people like everyone wants to be the starter, the this, the that, but at the end of the day, I was just happy to be in that state again. And for me personally, it just took a little bit of time, a little bit, there was a lot that went into it. But when I had found that again, I mean, I would have given you the prettiest color coded chart if that's what you wanted. I was just happy coming to practice. So that first season, that the one year that Allie and I did overlap playing, I couldn't practice the entire fall. And then I didn't get cleared to play into the spring. And so I walked in that season thinking I'm not even playing. And that is really hard when you know how much you're capable of and how hard you've worked, but you also are aware that you need to start back over physically, literally. So it's kind of a level of acceptance, but at the same time, I was just so happy to be there that I remember I got put into pinch show, like, let's go. And I mean, lucky enough, I did end up making myself into the starting lineup, but I mean, those were two pivotal moments where even on the bad days, I was enjoying the game. It didn't feel as detrimental as it used to have a bad day in the game. When I reflected and remember and realized that softball is something I do and it's not everything I am, and to truly believe that. And it just made it more enjoyable when those things just felt like something I was doing for myself because I enjoy it, not because I have to. And it's the world's greatest thing. Like softball's phenomenal, but there's other parts to life. So just
Yeah. I mean, that's such a powerful message and so much to unpack there. But I feel like to your point earlier about sports just being a metaphor for life, there's gonna be times when things change, you lose motivation, someone tells you no, you get things taken away from you. So obviously softball's a different avenue of that, but how you feel and how you get through those things are something you're going to feel again eventually in life, most
Mhm.
likely. So
Oh, yeah.
being able to kind of overcome those obstacles, work through those things, I feel like it's just setting you up for whatever is next in your life, whether it's your job, coaching, your family, like anything in that regard. I just feel like all those moments are training you to take on whatever's gonna come next. So, and I remember you not being able to play in the fall, but you were like so happy to do whatever the team needed, and it was literally contagious. So that was definitely received from kind of when you came to Binghamton, and that was actually my next question for you because obviously Binghamton was your third school at that point. It's the school you finished out your career at. Talk about getting to Binghamton, what that was like. Was there a part of you that was like, I got to do this all over again? Was there like nerves versus excitement? Walk us through that a little
There were
bit.
a lot of both, that's for sure. And in my specific circumstance, it was a lot of fear too, because when I was entering the transfer portal, I was in crutches. So I knew that entering the portal, if I couldn't get a good connection with what I had already established in the past with my stats, those types of things, then I can't just go walk on because I haven't gotten to walking yet. So
You
that was
literally can't
scary.
walk.
I literally
Yeah,
cannot walk on.
literally
I
can't
literally was
walk
talking
on.
about, I was like, I literally cannot walk on. Like I have crutches right now. It's
So,
not happening. So that was scary because it was just like rolling the dice between never playing again and trying to find something that I thought would be the correct fit for me. And so at that point I knew I was almost gambling because it's like you don't know what you're gonna get. Um, the exciting part of it was that I felt like I had found the right thing. And so I had taken a leap of faith before and I was gonna do it again. And so I was like, yeah, this is exciting. I think this could truly be the thing for me. And then people like you increase that excitement. The fact that you were checking in before I even had met you and you were willing to meet me on a random day I was moving in just because you thought it would be anticlimactic. Those things I noticed and I picked up on, and they made me really excited to come here. So it made the adjustment easier because to any transfer there is, I mean, essentially it's like you're like a freshman all over again. You don't even know where your class is. Where do I park? How do I even get what's a parking pass? Where is my address to my house? I'm not comfortable sleeping in my room yet. I've only been in here 1 month. I don't even know where I put this. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just like not oriented to anything. You don't know anyone. And so you're just a little uncomfortable at first, and that part is always challenging. But I think especially at Binghamton, that was such an easy adjustment here because yes, giving things the time and space, whatever, but all the people were just so welcoming and genuine. And that's why I still stay here and love it here because good intentions all around. And it brings me so much joy showing up every day to practice. So I'm very thankful for that because it made the transition easier.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me so happy.
you the quote you said I circled, it's softball's something I do. It's not who I am.
Mhm.
And I think so many people, I don't even know if they know softball's what they are. They just associate all the fun times. And there's so much more to it. So I feel softball's made you who you are, but but softball's not who you are. Does that make sense? I
Yeah.
didn't want to get all
Yeah.
confused just on you.
No, that's perfect. I think I totally agree with you. I think about that all the time of who would I be without softball because it's taught me so many important life lessons. But at the same time, I understand that when I show up to practice or when I go about my day, people don't just think about me as the softball player, they think of me as me. And that feels really good to know. And once again, leading back to my injury, I think a lot of players go through that at one point or another where it's kind of hard to separate their identity from the sport they're playing because you're just doing it so frequently that it takes over a lot of your own life. So in that case, that's where I kind of stepped back and saw the separation, and then it made the game more enjoyable when I realized like it's not everything I am. If I have a bad practice, the rest of my day doesn't have to be bad because I did bad at the thing that I am. So it felt good once I had that separation too to know if I have a bad practice, that sucks. I'm going to come back again tomorrow, but I'm still me. So it taught me a lot. And then when I figured out that separation, it like just carried those lessons over even further. So,
Yeah, and I think it's important to have people in your life too who sometimes remind you of that because I think it can get a little twisted sometimes when, you're saying that and then you have three bad practices in a row and then it starts to like spiral a little bit. So having people who can just snap you back to reality on that too can be really helpful. But one thing I wanted to ask you too, because your work ethic is second to none. So for our listeners out there, how do you hold yourself accountable, like be tough on yourself while not tying it to your self-worth? And I know that's a tricky question, but I think that's something that girls struggle with because my favorite thing ever is watching B hit in the cage by herself because she has a real conversation to the point where I think she's on the phone with somebody, and then I realize she's just talking to herself.
right, right. That really does happen. And maybe it's my only child syndrome hitting. That is a really good question. And I will say that being that is just such a tough duality to work with because I am someone where it's like, I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna find the solution. I have to, I will. But sometimes to a point that's a detriment. And I remember speaking with a counselor once, and she kind of described that sometimes the voices that are I'm speaking to with myself, there's kind of like a mean one and a nice one. And so the mean one is very critical. Like, is that really as good as you could do? All types of things like that. Like, I need more out of you. And as a student athlete, it's hard to not feel like that because you're constantly pushing to be a better version of yourself. I think the thing that kind of helps me step back because those days come and go is just literally for me, it's to sit down, take a couple breaths, and then remember all the things that I have accomplished. And sometimes I reach out and I phone a friend, and I just talk about it with them, especially the people who were student athletes, currently still are, because it's it's a very tough duality to balance, especially when you're working hard. And so you think and you want and you know you can do more, but at the same time, you're already doing a lot and accomplishing a lot. And part of the problem is that student athletes, let's say, for example, in school, you get an A. An A means you've done well. A C would mean you're passing. So essentially, a C still means you're doing good. But as a student athlete, they want you to get A's. And then if you get anything less than an A, it's not good. And the standard is an A. But the standard is already really high. So if you have the highest standard consistently, there's going to be times you don't hit it. And then when you get there, it doesn't always feel satisfying. And so that's where it's just that's a moment where you have to step back and remember, yes, I have a lot of expectations of myself. It's because I can accomplish these things. And if I don't, I'm so worthwhile. And that is only human of me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I definitely agree. And it is a hard balance to find, especially when so I kind of set you up for that one. So,
That was a good question. I'm going to reflect on that all night.
so
Did she really talk to herself in the cage?
oh, all the
Yeah.
time. Like she'd hit off the tee and be like, "Whoo, B, that was bad." Like
I'd be like,
talking
oh,
to
that's
herself.
brutal.
Oh boy, that wasn't good. And then, but
Sometimes some
thing
choice
like
words.
the
Yeah.
process you went through it with though was so fun to
I
watch,
like that.
honestly, because you break it down, you speed it back up. You break it down, you speed it back up. And my kind of point of asking that question is because in the game of softball, you can do everything perfect and still
Mhm.
get out.
Oh, 100%.
So if you tie your self-worth to your outcomes in softball, it becomes really dangerous. You can hit a line drive that if it was 5 feet to the right, it would have been a double, but the girl was just standing there and she caught it. So my thing is,
Yeah.
you can still be proud of yourself if you're putting in hard work. It doesn't necessarily have to be outcome based, right? Like maybe for you
100%.
and for me, being proud of ourselves was going to the cage and practicing after a
Mhm.
rough game so that tomorrow we felt better. It wasn't necessarily oh, I'm just going to go again tomorrow and hope for a different result and then get a bad outcome. To me, then I would have been disappointed in myself and maybe it would have been a self-worth problem. But if you're truly like doing everything you can, working through it like you know you should, and then you go out again, you feel better. Maybe the outcome's different. But I'm hoping that makes sense. It's so
Yeah.
hard in the game of softball because
100%.
it's a game of inches, truly.
To go off your point too, I also, yes, I would talk to myself, but I also made sure I celebrated myself. And
Mhm.
you can ask any of the girls currently on the team, but let's say I'm having an awful round, I'm talking to myself, and then I finally get one done. I would act like it was the greatest home run you've ever seen. It's probably just like a normal double, whatever. And I I feel like a lot of times we don't talk about how sometimes you need to rewrite what success is. So let's say you struck out. It's not great. But if you struck out after an 11 pitch at bat, yes, it's a strikeout. Yes, that sucks. But that's still a quality at bat. Like you had a very intentional, you made that pitcher work at bat. And so there's other ways to redefine success. So there'd be days I go into the cage and I've never seen this machine and I'm hitting 1 million ground balls off of it. And I'm like, that is not great. Obviously, that's not what we want. That's the critical side of me. But at the end of the day, if I'm able to make the adjustment and get a couple line drives out of that, that's still a success. And I could come back tomorrow and build on that. And so I feel like I didn't really figure that out until the later parts of my career where I constantly felt like I was failing because let's say I'd hit 3 line drives to someone, they're all caught. Now I'm not going 3 for 3. But at the end of the day, you still had hard hit balls, and sometimes that happens.
Yep.
So if you don't redefine your success within the game of softball, it's just going to eat you alive. It's just going to bother you because you're already failing 7 out of 10 times on a good day. So
Yeah.
you have to find the little wins through it, or else it's just going to drag you down.
Well, and two things real quick, and then Dad, I'll turn it over to you. But just to finish out this point, so the girls I hit with all the time, whenever I meet with a new girl, I ask them two questions. I'm like, okay, what do you want to work on in your swing? And they tell me like four things, and then I'm like, okay, what are you good at? And they 90% of the time struggle to tell me one, if not two things. And it breaks my heart because I watch them swing and I'm like, I could tell you right away five things that I think you do really well. They can't tell me. It's almost like they're uncomfortable to say it out loud. And that breaks my heart because I'm like that, okay, that's the number one thing we're gonna work on. I'm gonna tell you all the things you're good at because it's horrible, right? To go back to the good and the bad voices in your head, one of the best things I ever heard, right, is if you're on a team of, let's call it 12 people, like you're on a travel team, you could go around and if you think of all the other 11 as a player, you're going to say something positive about them. When we think about ourselves, the first thing we think about is negative. Why is that? So it's just like the way we talk to ourselves is really different than the way you talk to other people. So back to your point, like if I strike out, I'm talking to myself horribly. You would bring me words of encouragement, but I'm talking to myself with that mean voice, so to speak. So that was just a point I wanted to make on that too. But Dad, over
I,
to you.
I have a comment on that, and then I have two questions. You know, it's taken me 3 years, but in high school, we don't even measure batting average. We don't even track batting averages anymore. We have our own system where it's a combination of quality at bats, productivity, and things you do well. So I look at the paper the next day in practice. I'm like, you were 3 for 5. They're like, well, what do you mean? I was 1 for 5. Well, you had a 9 pitch at bat that resulted in a walk, right? And then the next girl hit a home run,
Yeah.
or you hit a sac fly. I mean, those things. There's just so many things you can do to help your team that doesn't result in a hit. Just barrel up, keep the line moving, keep doing things. Uh, did when you were in college, did your coaches track that stuff, or was it more of a focus on batting average? I mean, I think I know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, we track quality at bats for sure. We call them quabs. I'm trying to think. We usually have a goal of what percent of quabs we want for the day. And that's more of our focus than our team batting average for the day. Because there's so many other ways to move the line to produce some quality at bats. Because at the end of the day, we are a team. And sometimes it's not going to show up in the hitting number. But ultimately, if we still are doing things well collectively, because at the end of the day, this is also a team sport. So if a couple people are hitting great and boosting up our batting average, fun, but we also need the entire team working as one unit in order to get there. So I really like that you brought up, getting a walk and turning that into a run type of example, because that's a great example where I think some people get frustrated, like, oh, I didn't even get the chance to hit whatever. But it's like, yeah, that is frustrating, but you did get on and now you got yourself in, and that's huge. And that's for the greater good of our team. And that in itself should feel like a win too.
I'd like to think good college teams think that, but I don't always think high school people think that. That's why I focus on it so much. All right, B. High school athletes. you go way back to your 17, 18 years old senior.
Yeah,
What advice do you give people? Because your journey's pretty much happened exactly how you thought it would.
right. As we could have drafted it. Um,
All part of the plan. It's on a note card somewhere. It's on her 5-year
I
plan.
just really didn't think I was even gonna go to grad school, you know?
Right.
And then in your 6th year, you're in your second grad program, you're like, this is just none of the things I scripted for myself. I wish I could tell myself to relax and to enjoy some of the moments as they come. And it's really difficult to relax when you have just so much change and so much happening at once. But once I started truly believing the right things will work out for me, the right things will find me, and having just a lot of trust in that sense of the universe and the world, however you'd like to put that, then I just felt a lot better about each step of change. So I wish as a senior in high school, I accepted a little more of some things coming to an end. You know, transition is difficult. And I was having a great time in high school. So it was hard to step away into something new, knowing I would no longer be living in that phase of life. But I wish I really could have just taken a step back, relaxed a little, and trusted that it would work out. And my mom, shout out to her, she's the most positive person I know, and she's constantly like, "It's going to work out. It's going to work out." And I mean, she's got it down. So she's right. I listen to that advice now, and it's been helpful.
Yeah. It's hard when you're in the moment and someone tells you to relax. You're like, well, now I'm gonna relax less now that you're
Right.
telling me that. And I think, one thing we've talked about before on the podcast too is like, if you're on this planet, you have a perfect track record of getting through every hard day you've ever had.
Right.
That's a fact. Now, it might not be good or bad, but I think when you remember that, it kind of allows you to like subconsciously relax a little bit because
Mhm.
you're like, wow, this sucks right now, but I'm probably going to get through it, considering that, you know, I'm going to be here tomorrow, hopefully, and just like I have every other day.
Yeah.
So I need to relax and like put your trust in the world, the universe, like you said, and focus on how you can approach the situation. Because you can focus on how you respond to things, which you and I have talked about a lot, but you can't control what happens to you, unfortunately. The world would be a lot different
Yeah.
if you could control.
I also learned as I got older, a lot of things clarify themselves with time because I tend to be an anxious person. I'm like, well, I want to know right now. I need to figure this out right now. And that's just not how the world really works. And so when you sit back, sometimes a little bit just sitting in the uncomfort and let time resolve those things, a lot of times time is the thing needed in order to help clarify or to help you kind of stay at ease. So that helped me too. Because let's be real, girl, being in your mid 20s, what's going on? I don't know. I
Yep.
got friends getting married. I got friends moving to Jamaica. I'm like, what's happening? Where are we all going? What is going
Friends who
on?
got into running now.
Oh, now my friend's a marathon runner. I used to run tracks, laps on the track with her, and she used to be winded. I didn't know she would be running more than I'm driving. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? We don't know. Um, so that's enough. That's another time where I'm like, okay, just breathe and trust it's all gonna work out, and time is gonna be your friend, and it's gonna figure it out. Just keep your people around, just cruise. So,
So, speaking of figuring things out, I'm going to take you to a different time in your journey. So, senior night happens, end of the year happens, you're done with softball. What was that transition like for you?
oh gosh, like
Not to open this all
my
back
career
up.
is over. I'm still adjusting to that. I was actually on the phone with one of my friends before this and I was like, "Oh, I miss being a student athlete." I will say my experience with graduating is obviously very different because I got 2 additional years. So I feel like the world looks very different when you're 23, 24 playing versus 20, 21, 22 if you're on the older side. So I did get those 2 extra years to really comprehend that it was coming to a close. And I mean, even now it is kind of difficult to find what my niches are. Because I know from softball, I realized like, okay, I love physical activity. And I'm like, well, that one's over. So now which one do I try? So I learned a lot about myself, but I'm still kind of learning kind of a little bit of what to do with myself without throughout the game. Finding more things that I enjoy for myself that I didn't get to explore in the past. So that's been fun. And for me, it's definitely been coaching. I loved it as a player too. I love helping people get through the process and teaching them in a way that they can really understand and is well received by them as well. So that's kind of what it's been like for me, but it's definitely some days are more uncomfortable than others, some days are better than others. So it's been a journey and I'm still on the journey. But
So I got a question. I'm trying to figure out all this math in my head, and I've never asked who's older.
Allie's older. She's older
Yeah.
by 1 year. 1 year.
But you
Yeah.
played 2 more years than Allie. That cracks me up.
I played, she
Or
got her
one.
fifth year, so I got
Yeah,
my sixth.
yeah.
But since I was that 1 year younger than Allie, that's why I played two past her.
Do you want me to make an Excel sheet to organize it all out so you
Yes.
guys
Right,
see everything?
right.
That's going to be the cover of this podcast, just an Excel sheet of these years.
Can
I
use one
don't.
of my calculators, B.
I'm like working coaches camps now, and I'm meeting different people on different coaching staffs, and like, oh, like where'd you go? Like, oh, you're still in school. What do you do? And every time I'm like, guys, these are really loaded questions, and you don't know that this is not going to be like a quick one too. I'm like, so I did everything ever, and it's still going. So
So
I,
my one of my favorite things about going to school with you was when you'd meet new people and someone would go, "What year are you?" And I would just start laughing and I'm like, "Yeah, B, what year are
I
you?"
would freak out my first year because my first year I was a grad student, but I was a sophomore athletically. Like that's insane. So that's insane. And at the time, I just turned 21, so I'm like barely 21. So then it's just like, what's literally happening here? Like, what is this math? Um, yeah.
You would take the biggest sigh before you went to answer, and I'm like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
walk away because this is
Exactly
the
like this. I go,
12th time I've heard it.
here we go. Because they'd be like, then they'd so, where are you from? And then like, where'd you go? And I'm like, everywhere ever, Miss Girl. Like,
Like, how about I tell you where I didn't go?
I'm at this point just gonna print it out on a pamphlet or like a business card and it's just like,
Well, it could be like a wristband, like you guys use, like 7, 2, 4, and then you just look. Oh, B's right here. I got
yeah,
it.
okay. Just fun to
But
do.
you know what? But again, we used to ask people questions like, "What would you do different in your journey?" But the whole point is, you wouldn't do anything different. That's why you're where you're at. And there's things you can control. There's things you can't control. But I mean, again, you're the poster child that just being present and
Thank you.
grinding it out. I love it.
I will
Yeah.
say I'm definitely proud of my younger self for being able to make those jumps. And I was very fortunate to have the support of my parents because I would talk through it with them as well. But for the most part, my parents were like, all right, go for it. And if you fall, we'll catch you. So a lot of what I was doing was me. Like I would tell them, "Oh, I'm coordinating these schools." And they'd be like, "That's so cool. How's it going?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I have these types of offers. What do you guys think?" Just kind of get their input, but they would always say at the end of the day, it's up to you.
I
So
love
I think that was super helpful for me and the ability to go ahead and go for it because each and every time it was definitely really scary. And I'm glad I did it because I don't know. I will say when we won that conference tournament, that didn't feel like just that one season, and it can't ever. It felt like my career building into that moment and all the tough times and all the work and all the good times and all the moving and all the driving and every single thing that you could think goes into it and all the swings and misses and yada yada yada. But it felt like okay, like it's a good way to go out. I'll take it. I'll go on the thing and obviously it felt good to do it for all the people before me too. Like I always hype up that senior class when I first came in and our current seniors do that too. So just passing that down feels good and
Yeah, that was incredible. It felt like a long time coming for the program.
oh
So
yeah.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
were able to bring it home for us. But
It was
I guess I have two more questions and I'll start with one
please,
because I
I
feel
have
like
one more.
okay, then
That's
we're
it.
done. So three total. All right. So I feel like you're the perfect person to ask this. So if there's someone listening out there who maybe doesn't want to do something out of fear, right? Maybe they don't want to go somewhere, I don't know anybody. Maybe they don't want to move far from home and they're kind of debating. What would you tell them?
I mean verbatim I would tell them to take the leap of faith because you never know. You can't get to something better if you're staying where you are. So you have to be willing to let go of your comfortable area. And for some people, they know it's not like they could potentially do more, they could get more, they kind of think that, and they're just a little comfortable staying in that place because it is very scary to make that leap. But I would say you never know until you try. It could be some of the best decisions of your life. And for me, especially continue having those people in your lives. That's what helped me make those jumps, like I was talking about. So I would just say go for it.
Yeah. And I think maybe keeping the mindset too that whether it's good or bad, you're going to learn a lot from it. I think when people
Mhm.
move or take jumps, they want it to be perfect. That's just unrealistic.
I was gonna say the same thing as even the moments where I didn't feel like I was in the right place or this wasn't where I should be. I still refer to those lessons and those takeaways to this day. And so I still got a lot out of those experiences, even though I was like, okay, once that is done, I'm not going to repeat that. That's not my space. But I definitely got a lot out of the experience. And as difficult as those times were, I wouldn't want to take that away because that's what got me to who I am and where I am. And so I totally agree with you. That's such a big point to make.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
I want to know B's B's best moment of Allie and Allie's best moment of B, and I don't care who goes first.
There's so many.
Oh gosh.
I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
I truthfully don't.
Oh
We talk
no,
like we
no.
still talk at least what, once a week? I mean,
All right, well, then yeah, we can reframe it. How do you, you know, when I say if you hear each other's name, what comes to mind? How do you feel about each other?
there we
That's
go.
a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, because I
B,
put you on the
yeah.
spot.
B, okay, here's what I think about when I think of B. Every time I talk to her, I feel better afterward. No matter like what is happening in my life, if I just need to feel better, I would call B. So that's mine.
We do it for each other then because when I think of you, I just think of, I don't know the right words, kind of lightening the mood, like always a positive energy, just something that makes me feel good to be around too. I always think of a dad joke, if I'm gonna be honest, and as silly as it is, it lightens the mood. I was thinking of one of your best moments. I was just thinking in practice one time you got like a funky ground ball and you're like, "Oh, good heavens." And I was like, I would have cried. Like, I don't want that thing popping me in the face. You went, "Oh, good heavens." Like, okay. Like I would take a lap, take a walk after something like that. Um, but just like I don't know, you always have a very good energy about you. So
I
no matter
appreciate that.
what, that's what I think about.
You know,
I'm
it's
glad.
funny.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
like dad jokes, but I think Allie has more dad jokes than I do.
I
I
don't
got her
know.
the board game for her birthday one year because of that.
I feel like B, you make puns though too.
I make puns. That's why we
She
get
does
along.
good. She does good.
Yeah.
That
B
was
did I feel like you laughed more when you first met me and now it's just kind of like an eye roll. Like I feel like you're just being polite in the beginning. I was like, "Oh my God, this girl thinks I'm funny." No, she was just being polite.
When Allie was born, she laughed more. Now she's just an eye roll.
What?
I'm
I don't.
joking. I'm
I
joking.
don't. All right, time to go. No,
This is why
Listen,
this is
you know what? But the fun thing is, I mean, we could talk all night because
oh, we can.
I'm I mean, I'm 53 years old and I've never played softball. We talk about that all the time, but it's so much fun being around people where when they enter the room, you can feel the energy and that stuff's real. And that's what I feel with both of you. And I know that's what you transformed other people. And that's what I'm proud of most, knowing both of you.
I appreciate
Thank
that. And I feel
you.
like the thing is too with both of you, it's like someone who's gonna challenge you too. Like if I call one of you and I'm complaining, you'll check me so fast and be like,
Yeah.
"What are you even talking about?" And it'll set me straight because sometimes you need to hear that or, "Hey, have you thought about it this way? That doesn't make sense. What do you mean by that?" And it kind of challenges you to especially because like you two know me better than a lot of people. So if you're telling me that, I'm gonna reflect on it and it's gonna make me think about things differently too. Or on the flip side, if one of you's like, that makes a lot of sense, I'm like, I knew I was right. That made sense. If they're telling me I make sense, then I knew I was right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
A couple things have to happen.
Mhm.
Allie either has to come into town and you have to see her, or we have to go out to Chicago. I mean, that's
I will be visiting your beautiful Latitude 42 trivia.
nice.
I gotta go.
I can't wait. I can't wait. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. And thank you, ladies,
All
Thank you
right.
so much for
Thanks,
having me. It
V.
was fun. Of course.
obviously. All right. Talk soon.
All right. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.